Hello and welcome to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we are going to discuss the last 3 Agatha Christie books that I read. So to round off my year of reading Agatha Christie, I listened to 2 audiobooks and read 1 physically, although I do have 2 of them physically, so let's just jump in. I will go over non-spoilers first, and then I will go into spoilers since I feel like I have feelings and I would like to share them, good and bad. So let's go into it. So the first one that I read was Death on the Nile, and this one is about an heiress who she recently gets married at the beginning of this book by stealing her best friend's husband or fiance. And then she goes to Egypt on a cruise on her honeymoon, and her friend follows them while Hercule Poirot is there as well, along with several other people who are all seemingly connected to the heiress, Lynette, and things happen. I don't want to give too much more. Lynette has a lot of interesting things going on, and I don't want to say too much more. I think it's a really spectacular mystery and a spectacular plot, and you should pick this one up. If you haven't read Death on the Nile yet, you should. It's amazing. I don't want to spoil what happens because honestly, the title says a lot and I don't think I should say anything else. The next thing that I read was At Bertram's Hotel. This one I have on audio, and this one is about a hotel where things don't look quite right. There are people who just seem off. Miss Marple goes there to visit, well, not a friend, but she just goes away on a holiday essentially. And when she goes there, she notices that things don't look right and the people are strange. And then people start kind of disappearing, and it's a weird situation. She doesn't know what to make of it. And the police, then you see from their side of things, they're looking into some mysterious disappearings and burglaries, and it's a little shady, to say the least. I really love that one too. I gave it 4 stars, and I highly recommend checking that one out before I go into spoilers. Then the last one that I read was The Mystery on the Blue Train, or Of the Blue Train. And this one follows a young woman who she recently received a necklace from her father, who bought this necklace called the Heart of Fire, I believe was the term. And it's like an amazing ruby set. And she takes it with her on a train ride, and on the train ride she is killed and the jewelry goes missing. And it's kind of like, what happened to the jewelry, and why did they kill her to get the jewelry when someone could have killed her and like just left the jewelry there? Did they know about it? It's a big thing. So that's the plot of this one. I didn't love it as much. I was disconnected from the plot line, and the characters I didn't really care about. It just felt very disjointed to me. And I feel like it might have also taken that from being in 2 different countries a lot of the time. It was from France and England. And then the different ways of handling it. I have heard that this is not one of the most popular Agatha Christie's, so that might be a reason why my feelings aren't completely isolated. So onto the spoiler section. I am going to spill all about my feelings. With Death on the Nile, I think that this one is genius in the way that Lynette dies. I was loving this, and the attempted death threats on her was just brilliant. The rolling of the stone down the hill and all these things. And I love how it doesn't happen until halfway through the book, so you have this buildup of what's going to happen. And Hercule Poirot's been listening in on all these conversations unintentionally. So I loved when I was rereading this again, how for the first time really, that when I was reading about how Jackie's like, I never miss a shot. And I was like, such a giveaway if you knew the end. And I was catching all of these clues for the first time. It was beautiful. And I love how Agatha Christie plants these clues in advance, and you have to find them. And you can find them when you're doing it later on, or when you're reading it again and again and again. Love that. So when she said that, and then when she shoots at Simon, because it's a pretend fight to throw everyone off, and she actually misses, but she pretends that they didn't. so brilliant because it's just perfection. With the whole setup and the whole way, like, how did Agatha Christie come up with this way to murder Lynette? I have no idea. It's just brilliant the way that Simon goes and kills Lynette, and then while pretending to have a gunshot, and then actually shooting himself in the leg, and then later Jackie killing all the people, and then them killing themselves, or Jackie killing themselves at the very least. Spectacular. Brilliant. I can't tell you how much I love this. I really hated listening to it though, because the person who narrated it was David Suchet, and he's a brilliant actor, but he was not good at narrating because he was very fast for certain voices, and then he was very slow for certain voices. And so when I was like listening to it at normal speed, some voices were too slow for my liking. And then when I sped it up, some voices sound like chipmunks. So not a great audiobook to listen to for me at least, but I highly recommend checking this out if you didn't mind being spoiled, because it's brilliant. And if you have read it before but you haven't reread it, you should reread it because all the clues are there for the taking. So the next one is At Bertram's Hotel, which I'm going to spoil here. The whole time was like, something's going on with this place and I don't understand, but I'm like here for it. I love it. I want to be all over this, what's going on. But at the same time, I didn't like, I don't know, I wasn't blown away like entirely, but I loved it. I loved the journey. And I thought it was so great with the different nuances of English life that, I mean, I've seen in books before. Obviously I haven't lived there, so I don't know it myself, but I loved how it was like, oh, we copy old English life because people want to pretend they still live then. And it was just so funny and so brilliant. And Miss Marple is great. And I love the police, and I'm trying to figure out how these people are disappearing and showing up at burglary scenes and then reappearing a week later and they're fine, or however it works. It was just great. I really loved it, and I thought that was such a great way to do it. There was a death in it, and I think that was just an interesting way to do a death, but it wasn't the highlight of the book. The book is titled At Bertram's Hotel, and I think that's important because so many of her books, like Death on the Nile, is about someone dying on the Nile, or you have the murder of whatever, or the murder on the links, or the murder on this, or these different things. And it's like, those are really critical parts of the story. And yet this one was titled At Bertram's Hotel because it's just about the hotel and how the hotel is just crazy shady and crazy messed up, and how people are using it to front cons and steal things and rob banks and jewelry stores and all these things. And it's like, it's just the hotel. The hotel is a character in this book, which I loved. And I think that that's a brilliant book. If you didn't mind being spoiled, you should read that book. All right, the last book that I read was The Mystery of the Blue Train, which I'm going to spoil now. I noticed right away how many K's there were. I was like, there are so many K names in this book. That's gotta be important. And sure enough, it was, but it wasn't the right K name. It was the one of the few characters who didn't have a K name. And I was like, really? I just felt like it was just, I don't know. I was reading it the whole time and I just would put it down and I'd forget about it for like a few days. And normally when I read it in Agatha Christie, I pick it up and I'm just like dying to finish it. And I'm like, what's gonna happen next? I need to read the next chapter. I need to know what happened to Mr. and Mrs. whoever. And this one, I was just like, I just didn't care. So I don't know. With this one, I'm just like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say the least to read books like this. But I think also, like, in regards to titles, The Mystery of the Blue Train is also very significant because the mystery isn't essentially, the mystery is how the train worked, like who got on the train and when and what happened with the train. And I did really enjoy that. I also thought that the husband being the obvious prime suspect worked, but he wasn't the guy who did it, the killer. But then I also felt like the way that they got her time of death wrong by like 12 hours I was like, is that realistic? I don't know, because she wrote other books where they were like, oh no, it's definitely between like 2 and 4. And it was like, okay, well then they're right. Or like, and then Hercule Poirot would be like, oh, well, just because you think it's closer to 4 doesn't mean it's closer to 2. And in this one, they were like, it's the morning. And it was like, no, it was the night before. Doesn't make sense. So that whole thing I just didn't get. But yeah, so I think I gave this one a 3-star maybe. I don't remember, honestly. This book is very forgettable to me. I don't remember many of the characters. I just remember there were a lot of K's. A lot of K's. And then there's a character named Gray who I was like, she's the murderer because her last name was Gray. And I was wrong. So, because I just assumed with her last name being Gray, she'd be a morally gray character, even though she appeared to be very morally upright, because she was. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on the 3 books that I read. I enjoyed 2 of them. Well, maybe not the reading experience of Death on the Nile, but I did enjoy, for the most part, the books. So please let me know down below if you've read any of the 3, or if you have any feelings about them. Either way, I'd love to chat with you down below in the comments. Please subscribe if you'd like to for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.